Hey, welcome back to the channel. It is great to see you here again. This video is particularly relevant for anybody who has a camera that has a single card slot or is looking to buy a camera that only has one card slot. It's not the end of the world, and it doesn't mean that it's not a professional camera, but there are some downsides to it. We're going to talk about those in this video, and also what best practices you can implement to make sure that you, well, protect your media and deliver for your client. It's pretty much standard these days for what they call professional cameras to have two card slots. For example, the Canon R5C, this one has two card slots in it. Whenever a manufacturer markets their camera as a professional camera, they tend to have two card slots. This makes the camera more expensive, but it also means that you can write to two different media, and that means you have redundancy, or you have a backup. So if one of those cards corrupts, you have that spare just in case. I really like to have that feature because I'm a paranoid wreck of a person until I get all of my media backed up. And yet there are cameras out there that we're told are professional by the manufacturers that don't actually have two card slots, or some that do have two card slots but only write to one of those. The camera I'm filming on today is an old camera, and it's one of my favorites to use, and it's one I'm going to be doing a video on later. See if you can guess what it is. This one has been marketed as a professional video camera. It has two card slots, a CFast 2.0 card slot and an SD card slot. However, you can only write to one of those at a time. So if we're going by what a lot of people say on the internet, it's not a professional camera, despite what Canon will tell you. But in order to make me less paranoid, I looked up on how to protect my files and my media. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So that if you've gone out and bought a camera that only has a single card slot, you can still use it and deliver for your clients, and essentially it's still a professional camera because you're being paid to use it. So let's go through these tips that will help you protect your files. Yeah, this isn't as exciting about talking about new cameras and new lenses, but it is very important, and hopefully you'll find it useful and make you a bit more confident about using a camera that only has one card slot in it. Though if you have the budget and you have the option, get two card slots and a camera that writes to both of them at the same time in the same quality. The first tip is to only use media from brands that you trust. Now, I've used a big variety of cards from various manufacturers. Some have been fantastic, others have fallen apart, literally fallen apart in my hand. Fortunately, this has never resulted in losing any of a client's footage. However, it's made me a bit more fussy about the kind of cards that I use. The cards that I would recommend and the ones that I trust, first of all, Angelbird. These guys make fantastic quality products. I've never had any issues with them. They seem to go above and beyond, making sure that they are rugged and capable. They advertise the write speed very clearly, and they're based in Dornbirn in Austria, which only good things are based in Dornbirn. They also make great quality readers, which I'm going to talk about later. The other two card brands that I would use, first of all, ProGrade. They tell you exactly what the read and write speed are on there. They're rugged, professional, very good quality cards. Finally, Panasonic. They make excellent cards. They are much more expensive than the other two for the same write speed and the same size, but they are excellent quality. Let me know in the comments if there's a brand that you like and trust so that we can all know which ones to look out for and which ones to avoid. Now that you've got your trustworthy cards and put them into your camera, it is time to format those cards. Make sure that you have offloaded all of the information and backed it up at least once before you do that. You really want to be formatting that card in the device that you're going to be using at the start of every shoot. This ensures not only that you have enough space for that entire shoot, but also that you have a nice clean card that you can write to with no conflicting directory information from other devices. There are certain devices that can use media that is formatted by a computer. However, I would still recommend that you use that device to format the card or the hard drive anyway, just to make sure that everything is writing smoothly and you're not going to have any corruption issues. If you have a device that can only write to a single card at a time, make sure that you use cards that aren't too big. This will stop you from being too tempted to use a single card for the entire day's shoot, and if something happens to that card while you're it means that you will have lost everything that was on that card, and if it's the entire day, then yeah, that's a hard one to explain to a client. So write to multiple small cards and make sure those are kept safe. That means that if you were to lose one card, at least you're not losing the entire day or the entire shoot. And don't think this only applies to SD cards or consumer grade cameras. Even top of the range cinema cameras can have this same problem. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. My next bit of advice is do not delete cameras. My next bit of advice is do not delete files on your camera. Basically, once your card is formatted on your device and you try and delete things off it, you're more likely to corrupt that card. So don't delete files on your camera. If you're running out of space, change that card. Don't try and free up some space. Always carry enough spares that you never have to do that. That could be the thing that corrupts that card and makes all of it go away. So don't be tempted. If you followed my advice to use multiple cards and not put everything onto a single card, then you're going to need to store those used cards and the ones that you're going to use nice and safely. I like to use one of these. This is called an SD card vault, and it is dustproof, waterproof, shockproof if you drop it. It's pretty rugged and pretty safe. It's a great place to store the cards that you've used. I would recommend that you have two of these, one that you put used cards in, one that you keep clear cards in. As well as labeling your card vault, you should also be labeling the cards themselves. And then you keep note of which ones you've used that day and which ones are safe to format. When you have your used cards in a safe container like that, make sure that you keep track of where that is. You don't want to be changing locations and then searching through your bag at the end of the day and realizing you've left it somewhere, maybe out on a hill. What I do is I keep that in my pocket, and nothing else goes in that pocket so that I don't accidentally pull it out or drop it. And then before I move to another location, I check and make sure I still have that. And once the shoot is done, that stays on my person and not get put into a camera bag, because you never know. Your bag might get stolen, you might lose that bag, you might leave it location, who knows what will happen to it, but at least you'll have your client's data safe. You can always replace the cameras, you can always replace the lenses, the batteries. You can't replace the hard work that you've put into that day. And finally, use high quality card readers only. So I had a not cheap CF Express Type B reader. I thought that one was good quality, but the connection, it wasn't secure, so it would be shifting about and moving about there, and it would disconnect from the computer, and then you would have trouble reconnecting it, and sometimes the cards would go very funny. There were a lot of moments where I was quite terrified because I thought I'd lost all the information because of a loose connection on the card reader. So what I'd recommend is to use high quality card readers. Again, Angelbird, fantastic quality. That is pretty chunky, pretty solid. It's got rubber mats on the bottom that stop it from sliding around, so it's not going to fall off your desk. But the most important bits that I think are on this is there is a lock switch, which means that once you put your card into the reader, nothing can be written to that card. Next up is the way that it connects with the cable. So you have to have certain cables with it, but you can see just how far that cable goes in before it clicks into place. That means there's very little risk of it being pulled out or tugged out and corrupting that card. Because if you lose that connection while it's plugged into your computer, it could wipe that card and it could corrupt it. For many years when I first started doing professional video and photography, I had cameras that could only write to a single card slot. It just added that extra level of risk that I needed to mitigate. So that's why I learned all of these tips and tricks on how to make sure that you protect the media that you write your fantastic video and photos to. Don't be put off by everybody online saying that you're not a professional if you don't have two card slots in your camera, or your camera isn't professional if it doesn't have two card slots. There are plenty of cameras out there with a single card slot that are professional tools. You just have to be very careful and make sure that you behave professionally when it comes to taking care of those cards and making sure that you can always deliver for your client. Or even if it's for your own productions or your own YouTube videos, you don't want to spend all day shooting only to come back and find that the information's been lost or you've left the card somewhere. Hopefully this advice has been useful and prevents you from losing any vital data in the future. And if you're investing in equipment, don't blow your whole budget on an expensive camera and then cheap out on the media and the card reader. You need to make sure that you're using trustworthy and high quality products at all points in your setup. Just like this camera I'm recording on today, it only has a single card slot, but I think it is the perfect starter video camera for anybody who's doing YouTube videos or even professional work. I'll be doing a feature on that camera. If you have any advice for other viewers when it comes to taking care of your media, which brands you like to use, or tips and tricks you've picked up along the way, please do put those in the comments and share the wisdom and knowledge that you have acquired. All right, that's it. I will hopefully see you in the next video. You take it easy, and I shall see you then.